on the investment made in AI, and we saw some news this week, is on national full self-driving regulation, right? So the Trump administration announced that they want the DOT to develop a national framework to regulate self-driving rather than the state-by-state framework, right? So most states, I think, require certain licensure to be able to do it. Texas and Florida have no restrictions. But at least the indications out of the administration were that they wanted a national policy, which makes sense to me. I think that's very beneficial to Tesla and to Waymo and to anybody else who's in the full self-driving game. You get to deal with one regulatory authority rather than trying to, deal with the complex nature of 50 of these folks. That happened at about the same time. Our team's doing a tremendous amount of work around FSD13, which we expect to roll out in the next few weeks, okay? So you and I did the pod earlier in the year, Bill, on FSD 12.3 as a big breakthrough, as the first imitation learning model, really moving away from these deterministic models where we saw a step function in terms of capability. Elon had said they were going from making 10% improvements a year to 10x improvements in a much shorter period of time. So we know about FSD13. It's the first model they've trained on the Austin supercluster, right? Parameter size is about 5 times bigger. And what I hear is that Elon's priorities around it are safety, 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 right? He wants different to be able to understand different driver modalities in different situations, right? So that you can, the metric which they use is MPCI, miles per critical disengagement, okay? And my partner, Frida, tweeted a couple weeks ago that at the start of this year, we saw 12.1 come out. By the middle of this year, when they released 12.5, it showed 100x improvement in miles per critical disengagement. And then with the launch of FSD 13 in the next couple weeks, we expect another 10x improvement in terms of that MPCI. But here was the crazy stat for me. So you're already at 1,000x better than we were at the start of this year in terms of miles per critical engagement. Now, if you do some back of the envelope, which she did in her tweet and Elon retweeted it, at launch in Q4 of this year, it looks like version 13 will be somewhere around 25,000 miles per critical disengagement. And we estimate that Waymo's right around that same level, maybe 20,000 miles. So they already caught up, we think, with Waymo. And at the current rate of improvement, right, in Q1 of next year, they could be at 100,000 miles per critical disengagement. By the middle of next year, 500,000 miles per critical disengagement. Now, just to put this in perspective, there's a human accident every 500,000 miles.
Yep.
Right? That's self-reported, right, with human drivers. So if 2024 was the Chat GPT moment for full self-driving, Bill, where we started seeing Waymos on every street corner in San Francisco, where you and I had our, and Michael Dell tweeted about it, our Tesla FSD 12.3 moment, then if this was the Chat GPT year, I think next year really is the year of achievement of a safety standard that allows robotaxi to go into action, probably in Q2. They'll pick a couple cities. And that doesn't mean that you can pull the steering wheel out of every Tesla because, Elon has said we're not there yet from a safety perspective. But the way they'll do it for a robotaxi is you can put the car on robotaxi mode. So think about it this way. If I'm driving down Sand Hill Road out here, I have an expectation. I'm sitting behind the wheel. I have an expectation as to how fast I'm going to go. And if the Tesla's not going that fast, I'm going to disengage and drive the car, right? So, because I'm sitting behind the wheel. Now imagine I'm in a robotaxi. I'm sitting in the back. I'm leaning back. I'm on my phone. I'm watching something. I will tolerate, just like I tolerate in a Waymo, a different speed of driving, right? A different safety standard, if you will. So I think that's how they get safe enough in a couple markets to be able to drive robotaxi, is to just put it in a safer driving mode. And I've watched these cars do it. They modulate modes depending upon the type of streets that they're on already. So that for me was paying attention to that regulation combined with the improvements in FSD13. I think that's going to be big news as we look forward at 2025.